question I'm taking on my hike today. It's 3:40. I was going to leave the house at 3, but I read an email from a woman who had spoken on the phone with me around the holidays during her year off from medical school, between her 3rd and 4th year. She's made the decision to leave medicine, not do a residency, and is using the year to explore herself and prepare for that decision, knowing that she's going to finish her 4th year and get the MD. And it was worth delaying my hike because what she described was the anxiety of going back to the old world and not having anything to say to her friends or classmates about what she's doing because she doesn't know yet, and just kind of living in the discomfort of not knowing. And I had to read and respond to it and then take those questions on my hike with me, because first of all, needing to know is so familiar to me. It comes back again and again as something I explore my own discomfort with, and explore how to be with it, how I deal with it habitually versus other alternatives. And little road rage here, Palo Alto, California. And also this growing realization in me. I've been waiting patiently while caring for myself for it to be apparent to me who my people are. Capital M, capital P, my people. And it occurs to me that I understand more the part of myself that was so conditioned to be a doctor, only after having burnt out from my violin school, after having been an entrepreneur. And I was thinking about it, it's like, why didn't I experience burnout as a venture capitalist? I was certainly working long hours, traveling, and was under a lot of kind of stress of newness and learning and change. And the answer is because none of it really mattered. At the end of the day, it was freaking money and status that I was going after, and it just couldn't get me involved emotionally. I had plenty of, more options than I'd ever had in my life, probably, to distract myself from that, to entertain myself, to buy things. I acquired an enormous amount of things, which I realize now going through my own apartment, but I just didn't care that much about, lives were not on the line in that work. And that's partly, that's the major reason I left, because I knew that I was born to work with things that mattered, with people and their process of learning and growing. And you've got to care to do that. And when I went to start my violin school, it really tapped back into that part of me that cares. So that's the same part of me that would have been at play as a doctor, and I know that because I was trying to posture into the roles that I was, again, conditioned to value, which were the high-paying, low stress or low level of commitment hours kinds of specialties that were the macho ones. Couldn't ever get myself to love them. The closest I got was cardiology But then, like, sitting behind an interventional cardiologist in a private hospital all day for a month, I just couldn't see it. But anyway, I don't look back. I don't see myself as a physician, but I connect with the part of physicians that so need to care about what they do, and so need to carry that identity in their world as their work. So to leave that, having made that 20-year commitment at least to get there, and then to leave it is like totally lost in the woods moment. And I'm right there actually right now, not because I'm struggling to leave something behind, but it's sort of like creating from the void a way of working with people, a way of being in this world. Does not require the identities, systems, and rules of being a physician, but really enables you to go to the root of things with people in their process and what's real for them. And I have tasted bits and pieces of what this work could be, how it's being delivered by others who don't have my background. But I've always known that I was born to do work that's uniquely mine, that only I can do. Ever since that Sesame Street with who are the people in your neighborhood. And I knew I wouldn't be one of those people that had a uniform and a identifiable role. But I have work to do, something I'm supposed to do. And I realized that every single thing I'm going through, including the difficulty of, for instance, today, of just looking at my bank account balance and just being like woken up into some realities that I just chose not to think about because I had other things to think about, so that I can move from this point. But just all of the difficulties of not knowing and creating from all that background, all of that conditioning, all that deep practice in a different way and starting over. And that analogy of getting off a treadmill and learning to walk again, which I took partly from a quote I think that Apollo Ono, or one of the Olympic speed skaters, said, which was, last year I was going after the gold, and then I became grateful to even be able to take one step. It was after an accident, an injury, where you had to learn how to walk again. And it sort of puts things into perspective where one day you're looking at a gold medal and you're trying to push yourself for that. And the next day you're grateful that you're able to take one step. And I think, in a way, that's the journey that I'm on, and that all people who truly choose to change directions, for real in their life, go through that point in time where you have to become grateful for very, very minute things. And that's part of, I think, this spiritual training that brings us into this world and gives us those experiences so that we can have them and share them. And I feel that I, given everything I've lived through in my particular way, have an enormous number of people to help. I now feel the responsibility that if I don't, take those risks and do things that people may or may not care about, that I don't have that opportunity, that I'll never have that opportunity if I don't just do those little steps. So let me acknowledge what I did today. It's another one of those Tasmanian devil kind of days. But here I am, look at this. Nice sun, and it's really warm. Hit the Stanford Dish, just climbed that first hill. I added some more links to my physician burnout and wellness resource page. And I'm happy with the way that's going. I finally created my Name Your Price coaching program and put that on the calendar for next week. I'm just going to do it for at least a month and just commit to it and see what happens. Have something to invite people to. And it's something that'll keep me on a weekly schedule communicating with people about where I am, which is something I'd fallen off of the last several months. And now that I have this hiking practice, I think it's becoming much more healthy for me to work at the computer and sort of find that rhythm, and then go on these walks every day and not feel at all guilty about it. In fact, feel that it's part of my work.
I fly mine.
So what else? Do my meetup, I got to pick a location for that. And I think a lot of this was catalyzed by the dinner invitation to meet Joe Kim and Ken in San Francisco. It kind of feels like I can listen and learn more and plug in to what real physicians are going through and remember what that was all about without getting back in. And to recognize my contribution, which is everything I've lived through, and that it is valuable, because I'm exactly what was not available when I was trying to do what I did alone. Which brings me to the last thought, which is big in my life right now, as I think about what to do to address the bank account issue. And it's really not the bank account issue, it's just the clarity and focus of work and how I want to spend my time and where I want my mind to be. And it's this idea that I need to do it all alone. And first and foremost, with my relationship, I default into the idea that I need to do it all alone. Taking care of me, taking care of others, making sure everything runs smoothly, it's all my responsibility. And it's funny how I boomerang that back on myself even more strongly with coaching, because I'm like, I need to take responsibility for creating everything in my life. And it's just like so huge of a burden when the standards, well, I let the standards go, but when the idea, the belief is still there that I need to do it all on my own, and how, just not knowing how it could possibly happen any other way is where I am, because I don't think I'm wedded to that belief. I know that support is the key, community is power, and I'm ready to create a community and attract my people. I just don't know how. I have no idea how. And that's why I wanted to comment, because Jenny's email, and I want to thank her for it right now, just reminded me of the power of stepping into our vulnerability, reaching out, finding those allies and support systems, and knowing that we're not alone, and reminding ourselves of that in the moments when we do feel that we are, because it's never true. certain work needs to be done on our own, certain of the realizations and shifts, but we always benefit from compassionate witnesses in our lives. They're not always perfect. They're not always what we want them to be, but if we see them as reflections of their intention and receive the intention, we can be filled. So that's my little comment. I'm going to take in the actual surroundings in my environment now. Signing off.